When I first joined SiteCare, I did think that it would probably be a 2-year stint, but here I am 18 years later. I have loved every single minute of it. Yes, of course, there have been challenges along the way, but that's life. And the reason I've loved every minute is because of the wonderful people I've been associated with. I suppose the highlights in a way for me probably go back to the early days when I was discovering, the dynamics of the market, the challenges that the independents had. And it seemed very obvious to me that the independents really needed much more help than they were currently getting to make the transition from being clinicians to being business people too. And I can remember the first presentation I ever gave, which is in Scotland, and I started talking about business plans and profitability, and there was a wall of silence. No one wanted to talk about this stuff. I just saw that the market was going to change dramatically. The chains were beginning to get a hold on the high street, and the independents were absolutely going to get left behind unless they started to change the way they thought about their businesses. But in terms of the future, I think firstly, I think the independent sector is in a far better place today than it was a decade ago. Even 5 years ago, it's in a better place, it's stronger. But of course, the numbers are still diminishing. But I think the challenges ahead are really going to be technologically driven. We know that IT drives everything. So I see over the next few years that technology is going to come on really at a pace. And I think for the independents, they ought to be aware that the chains aren't far behind when it comes to investing in technology. We've got to be able to evolve the business model to be more embracing. For example, I don't think there are enough independents really engage with the hearing care sector. If there are other services that can be provided to make life easier for their patients or prospective patients, then I think they ought to be looking at that and possibly engaging with those other activities. I just love the challenge of business, and I love working with people that have an open mind, and a receptive people. And not all independents over the years have been, I have to say, but more and more are. And it's really refreshing when you see someone who has a closed mind, but over time, suddenly, they're a sponge. They just want to absorb it all. They want to just soak it all up. And then, of course, that translates into their business success. So I think the future is good in terms of where independents are today and how they're responding. But I think a lot more needs to be done. An enormous amount needs to be done to make sure that they are protected as best they possibly can be against the kind of influences that are coming our way on almost a daily basis.